What is a coda? Stick around. We are going to talk to Maria Gallucci in just a minute, and we are going to find out what a coda is and all about it and how that can play into communication. And we're going to get some great communication tips from Maria today. And I'm so excited. I've had conversations with her before. It is going to be good. So, before though we get to that, I am Traci Poe, the host of the Communicate Great podcast, and we are here to help you with your communication tips. So, Maria, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm good. Okay, so we were just talking before we hit record about our coming back from the holiday break, and for me it's just been kind of this slow chug, this slow transition of getting back, and but we're here and we're going to do this, and I know that it is going to be so good. So Maria, can you let our audience know who you are and what you do, and then we're going to dive into what is a coda and all of your fabulous tips.
So I'm Maria Gallucci, and I'm a real estate agent in Colorado, and I'm also the author of Raised in Silence.
So, Raised in Silence, I want to talk about that for a second. No, first though, is this your only book or have you written other books?
No, this is my first.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. Do you want to talk about what a coda is? Talk about your book real quick before we get into your tips?
Sure, Coda is a child of deaf adults, so it's any children who've been raised by a deaf adult. And so I'm both my parents are deaf, so I was raised by two deaf parents, and ASL is my first language. And so I wrote the book just to let everybody know about awareness and being inclusive and how you can communicate better.
One of the reasons I love this, obviously, there's the communication component, and I'm passionate about people communicating well. But besides that, I really like the awareness aspect of you writing this book. And when I was working on my bachelor's years ago, I was at the University of Science and Arts of Oklahoma. Shout out to Chickasha. But we had at that time, and I don't know if the school still has it, but they had one of the biggest sign interpretation departments and programs. And so I really didn't know much about it. Obviously, I knew what sign language was before college, but going into college, I really hadn't been around it much. I didn't know much about it, but being at that school and having so many students taking or part of that program, I was really exposed to it quite a bit, and I found it beautiful. There are certain spoken languages that I find beautiful, and it's spoken too. It's quiet, right? So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
just so beautiful, and watching, songs, the national anthem or whatever, and then you have people signing to those songs. It is just I love just watching because of the movement of it. And so then here's my other thing before I kick it back over to you. Because I really became aware of sign language when I was out of college, I decided I'm gonna go take a sign language class, and I drug my roommate along with me, and she and I took it was, I think, at a community college, and so we took a course, and I figured out very quickly that it's hard. At least it was
I
hard
know.
for me. So, anyhow, so that is the reason why I love sign language. So now I'm going to kick it over to you and let's talk about your book first.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a story for the what you're talking about because ASL is my first language, so I'm completely fluent. And then so my son had to take a foreign language in high school, and so I'm like, well, go ahead and take sign language because it'll be easy because I can help you and I'll know it. It is hard. It was different than like how we were taught growing up because we're fluent, and so being taught that, I'm like, I can't imagine like just going in as an adult. Like I'm so thankful that I was a kid learning the sign language because it was hard.
It is, and in some of our conversations in the past, what we both acknowledged is there are dialects and there are different. It's just like in the spoken word here in the United States. we have different regions of the country where there are more of, I don't know if dialect is the right word, but just, the South gets made fun of a lot for talking like this
Yeah,
and,
it's like accents. Yeah.
exactly, those accents. And so and by the way, that was a terrible impression, but and no one in my area talks like that. But anyhow, so I know that there are accents and dialects and different countries speak differently. So ASL, tell the I know what it means, but tell the audience, what does that stand for?
So ASL is American sign language. So it's our sign language in the United States, which we have different versions of it. And then
Yeah.
so other countries, they like, I think it was Finland or something signed with like their bodies. And like, so every country has their own sign.
Exactly. And so when you think about it, yeah, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. But okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about the book.
So I wrote Raisin Silence just to, um, I wanted to show people like the different perspective and the different aspects of culture and people. So it's not just about the deaf community and hard of hearing community. It's about just communication in general and how we can actually stand up for others.
Okay. You talk about communication, and that is definitely that's why we're here. But I get very excited when it comes to talking about communication with people. So, okay. So, do you want to talk about anything in the book? Or, well, very quickly, how can people get it? And we can hopefully talk about that again at the end. How can they find your book?
So it's on all book platforms. So it's Amazon now is Amazon's bestseller and also top new release there. And then also raisedinsilence.com has all of the different links that you can go to purchase the book.
I love it, and congratulations on it being one of the top sellers. Yay. Yay
Yeah.
for you. Okay, let's talk about communication. I know that you just have such richness, rich ideas and heart convictions. So what would be your first tip within this coda, this uh raised in silence genre, area, whatever we want to call it?
Yeah. And it's I think my tips are for anybody who wants to just feel involved or understood. So mine would be present before you speak because most people I feel like are always thinking about what they're going to say next instead of actually listening. And so I think real communication starts with presence, eye contact, but body language and attention. I think if you're not present, it really doesn't really matter what words you use.
Exactly. Okay, so one of the terms that I use, and it's not my original term, but it's pseudo listening. And that is when you're not present. You're talking about being present, really actively engaging in that listening process. And so there's something called pseudo listening, which is fake listening. And I know that
Mhm.
you've been around this before. I
Oh
know
yeah.
that there's been probably a situation where either you are doing it, because I have a story, or someone that you're speaking to is doing it, and they're just not listening to you, and you could say,
Yeah, you could
and I've done
tell
this before.
by their
Yeah,
body language and their expressions, like they're not listening to you.
you can tell. So I've done things before like, and then the Martians invaded and the moon blew up, and I just start throwing out random things because and then at some point, then they're gonna go, "Wait, what? What did you
Like,
just?"
what did you say? Exactly. And I still stutter, but I've always stuttered as a child, so I had to go to speech therapy and everything. And so you could tell like when like you are stuttering or whatever, you could tell when they're like really not like present or listening to you.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Okay. So being present is a huge one. You mentioned that. And do you want to unpack that anymore or do you want to move on to the next one?
I feel like a lot of people are just like in their own worlds and they're not like they're always about I feel like a lot of people are about themselves kind of and so but they just don't give the special attention that people need and that's how you connect is by
Right.
like listening and hearing and just understanding their worlds and their words.
Exactly. So when it comes to some of the listening, you say be present. I would imagine that you would be thinking that might include maybe put your phone down.
Oh,
I know
yeah,
you talked
put
about
your phone,
eye
yeah, eye
contact.
contact. If you have
Mm.
sunglasses on, take them off because, like, especially with the
Oh,
ASL world, like, it's hard for me as a hearing person to even communicate at all if someone's wearing sunglasses because you can't really see their expressions, you
right.
can't really see their
Exactly.
emotions. And so, like, put your phone down and just be, like, fully present and fully listening.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned sunglasses too because I've done that before. I've said, I'm really feeling disconnected from you with these sunglasses on. Can I see your eyes?"
Exactly. I
So
always have to ask people to take off their sunglasses. I'm like, I can't, like, connect with you. I have to see you."
right, exactly, exactly. Okay, what is another tip that you have for us?
I think, listen to understand and not to respond. And so growing up with, deaf parents taught me that listening isn't like, it's not about sound. It's about intention. So I always say,
Mm.
like, slow down and listen, truly understand what someone means and not just what they say. And so I think most misunderstandings come from assuming instead of asking.
Yes, I love that. You hit on a couple of really big ones for me. Assuming is one of the things that I talk about with people. I do actually a workshop on assumptions, and assumptions can be good in a certain vein, if that makes sense. But generally, assumptions can be negative.
Mhm.
We assume the negative, we assume the worst, we assume ill will. We're assigning
Exactly.
that my mic.
Yeah.
We're assigning that to somebody, and that can really derail not only conversations, it can derail relationships. So,
Exactly.
that is a huge one. That is a huge one. Okay. So you talked about assumptions, don't make assumptions. And really, you didn't use the words lean in, but I hear that's what you're saying. Really lean into that conversation to make sure you're understanding what you're hearing. And do you have any tips on how you make sure as the listener that you are I'm gonna ask you 2 questions. 1, do you have any tips as the listener, how to make sure you're on track? And then do you have any tips as the speaker, how to make sure you're on track as well so that there is a communication process that's happening effectively?
Effectively. Yeah. I think that you have to put yourself in their perspective. And so I think that if you put yourself in their shoes, you can understand better what they're trying to say as the listener. And then the speaker, it would be if you feel like they're not understanding you, ask. Like, do do you understand what I'm trying to explain? I just want to make sure I'm coming across like correctly.
Right, right. Okay, I'm gonna break in with a story. So years ago, we're empty nesters now, but years ago
Me too.
I was having years ago I was having a conversation with one of our children and my husband, and I was trying to give them some communication advice, some communication tips on how to make sure that they were communicating effectively because I was listening to it and I knew where they were getting off.
Where
I
they're
keep hitting
misunderstanding. Yeah, exactly.
hitting my mic. Sorry, I'm going to move that back. But I'm sitting on the outside listening to this and I'm like, "Ooh, I see where we're getting off." And so I tried giving them some tips on how to communicate effectively, and they both shot me down real fast, like, I did not know what I'm talking about. "Okay, wait, wait, I have 2 degrees, I teach this in college, like, you're
Yeah, you're
telling
like,
me
this is what I do.
I don't know what I'm talking about?" So anyhow, but it's just funny because now skip forward years later and they have both grown so much in the way they communicate, especially the child, very intuitive, very discerning. And so that child definitely will communicate in a very effective way. And it's just so fun to watch some of those light bulbs going off like, "Oh, wait, let me try this. Oh, that's a good idea."
Communication's huge.
It
That's how I
is.
feel like we all connect. Like, that's
Right.
how and that's what I've taught both my kids is, like and then I think being raised with the deaf and hard of hearing community and the deaf culture, it taught us to be, like, more, like, empathic and resilience and know that it's important to listen and try to not place judgment, not try to I think communication's huge, I think, in everything.
See, I love that you say that because I don't think that there are a whole lot of people that understand the power of communication and that does either make or break relationships. So,
Mhm.
the degree, one of the things I say is the degree to which you are communicating in a healthy manner is the degree to which you are going to have a healthy relationship.
Exactly, and tones of voice, expressions, all that makes such a huge the difference on how the other person perceives the conversation or you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You know, somebody can say, and this is something I used to teach. I don't teach college anymore, but I would use this example. So when you think about the words "I love you," it's the same words, whether you say "I love you" or
Mhm.
"I love you," right? That's
Yeah,
two
exactly.
different
And the
messages.
facial expressions too, and the body language, like that, those are huge on communication.
Yeah, exactly. So I see, I love that you see this. You're in the real estate world, which I want to ask you about in a second, but you're in the real estate world and you were raised with deaf parents. And so I think you're right, that makes you more empathic. I think that you can see things that you may not have otherwise seen just naturally,
Mhm.
in your day to day. So let's talk about the real estate world before we go back to some of your tips.
I
Talk to me.
think that
I know what you do, but let our audience know what you do as a real estate agent and tell the story of how you got there because it's fascinating.
so I was 12 years old and my parents were buying their first house. And so I was just going into the car just to ride with them to go there. And then they had no interpreter there. So I saw my parents like struggling with like understanding. And of course, the community can read, but it's different if something is explained to you in your own language. And so I had jumped in and like tried to like help them um, do the paperwork and interpret for them so they can understand. So I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to let anybody ever feel like that. Like I isolated, left out, and not being able to communicate in the way that they need to. And so after that, I thought I'm never going to be able to do that. So then I really loved real estate. I'm a teen mom, so I had to get into a job right away. And so I jumped right into the real estate world when I was a teenager, and I've loved it ever since. And I feel like um, I think today I bring the same approach to everything I do because whether I'm working with clients or like connecting to try to find friends, I think that people just want to feel understood and be able to communicate. And that applies to all communities, the deaf, blind, LGBTQ plus, or anyone who has ever felt overlooked. And so for me, I think being raised with that gave me more real connection and I can feel what they're feeling when they walk into a house. And I can feel like their happiness if they see it. And I know when they don't like a house either. Like I have like the ability to know like what um they're actually feeling when we go into it. Now I've been in the real estate business for 34 years.
Wow, that's amazing. I love it. I have a daughter who's a realtor, and my husband is a mortgage loan officer, a home loan, whatever they're called now. They're called something different,
Yeah,
but anyhow, so I grew up in that world, and I love that you've been doing this for 34 years because I know, just kind of going to the real estate market real quick, it's had some ups and downs and
oh,
some
yeah,
tough
the
times.
real estate market's definitely had, ups and down. I've been through it all, and I love, like, being able to help clients, we're like their psychologists, like, we're their counselors. Because buying a house is extremely emotional to begin with, and not to be able to understand the language or have somebody to communicate with you, and I think it's a huge, bonus for them to be able to have an agent who actually speaks their language and makes them feel included.
And that that's huge. I mean, whether you're a hearing adult or you're a not hearing adult, I don't know what term to use, but a deaf adult, I I mean, you need to feel heard and understood for
Mhm. And
sure.
you need to feel comfortable and trust
You need
somebody, and I
to feel
feel like when
yeah.
you're, like, doing being fluent or even, like, at different communities, when they know that you're an ally for them, then,
Mhm.
it makes them feel more comfortable.
Right, right. Okay. So let me ask you real quick, and then we're gonna get back to the communication tips. I'm trying to plug you here. So, okay, so if you're in Colorado, right?
Yes.
Now, what if I'm in Texas or Florida or California or wherever, and I need to find a real estate agent who can help me and I'm deaf? How can you help me?
So in Colorado, I have Gallucci Homes, so it's galluccihomes.com, but I actually built a national platform called ASL Realty, and that is actually a national platform for the deaf and hard of hearing communities that I will find agents for them in the areas that they are.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. So you didn't just serve your community, you are now serving the
I'm
nation.
not yeah, I'm nationwide, yes.
I love it. That's huge. That's huge. Okay. All right. Now let's go back to our communication tips at the Communicate Great podcast.
Okay, so I think my next one would be pay attention to what isn't being said.
Mhm.
So I think that
Mm.
tone, facial expressions, as I was saying earlier, pauses, and body language often can communicate more than words because silence and can tell you a lot if you're willing to like notice their emotions and their feelings and their expressions, and words are only part of the conversation, especially with ASL. ASL is very, very, very emotional based and very um like physical. Like it's very you have your expressions, you have your body language, and that's how we were raised to communicate.
Right, right, right. That is one of the first things I noticed when I started, when I was at college and I was around people within that program. Their facial expressions
Hmm.
were very animated, which I kind of appreciate because my facial expressions are also very animated. I've watched a
Mine
couple
too.
of
I always talk with my hands,
yeah,
like
yeah,
always. It's like a thing.
yeah, yeah. So, okay, that's why I think that's probably why I appreciate it because I'm that way too.
Yeah,
So,
gotta
okay,
talk with the body language.
exactly, exactly. Okay, all right. So, do you have another tip or do you wanna sit on the one that you just talked about and kind of unpack that a little more?
I do have clarity as kindness because I feel like a lot of us just like I was saying earlier, it just assumes the bad, but being clear doesn't mean that you're being harsh and you're being mean. It's just like it just means that you're being honest, direct, and respectful. So vague commu- communication creates confusion, I think. And
Yes.
so and it hurts a lot of people's feelings as well. So I
Mm.
think that clarity builds trust, and it also and confusion I feel like breaks it.
You know, I help people with public speaking, and that is one of the things that I try to get them to understand is when their message isn't clear, when they're kind of all over the place, that definitely hurts your credibility. And so I like that you say that because I agree 100% with that for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was at a closing yeah yesterday, and the closer was because you have to communicate clearly, especially with the deaf and hard of hearing community, because they and if you're talking like it was just so what she was trying to convey and stuff wasn't working. So I actually jumped in and started like in interpreting basically. I'm like, okay, this is actually what she means because my clients were so confused. I'm like, okay, you just have to talk more clear. Like you have to like talk with clarity and like you can't just say this paper means that. You have to explain what the paper means because otherwise they don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I agree, and that's a good tip for the closing, the title company or whoever you were using. Just whether you're, deaf or hearing, they've been doing it so long, they do it all day long
And
that I think
they just put it that down and put it on
yeah, yeah.
the paper
I think
thinking that they know what it is, and it's like, no, they don't. So you have to explain it, and you have to sign, like, the interpreter has to sign it. So even the interpreter was confused. So I had to, like, jump in. I'm like, "This is what she actually means." Like,
right. Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that you were there to explain that. I think
because I almost didn't make it to that one. I was gonna be late, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm so glad I was there."
no kidding. Oh, can you imagine just walking away anybody walking away just frustrated, not understanding, it's sometimes it's rote for people who do the same thing all day long, every
Yes.
day, and they just assume that
No,
somebody
and
is up to speed, and we're not always. And so one of the things I do is I'm really good at asking questions, so much to the
me
point that I
too. I asked
annoy
I know, I do too.
annoy people because I wanna know. That's part of the communication
No, like,
process.
what? Yeah, exactly. Like,
Mhm.
I'm a question person.
Oh, yeah, me too. I feel like we're, like, the same person
I
because
know.
there's so many things we have in common. Okay, alright. So, do you have any other tips? Is there anything else that you wanna talk about?
I'd have a last tip if you want that now. So it is lead with empathy, and that's how I've always done my business, and that's how I've always done friendships and everything like that. Because before trying to be right, I feel I I feel like you need to try to be kind. And when people feel understood and conversations, I feel like, soften, and real connection happens when that happens. And so people don't need to be perfect. They don't have to have the perfect words. They just need to feel seen and heard and understood, and fit and feel like they can be their authentic selves with you.
Right, exactly. You talk about being understood. What is that saying? Something about seek to understand first, that rather than being understood first. I
Understood.
botched that. I totally botched that saying, but the sentiment is there. Like
Yeah,
we need to make sure we are understanding where the other person is coming
it's
from.
coming from their perspective.
Yeah, I feel like, and this is just, my interpersonal communication world, my view, and this is something I'm actually going to start putting out there more, is that we, I'm going to say this, we're in a society and probably a world where we have somehow evolved into thinking that we are entitled above everyone else, that we are first over everyone else. Me, my, me, my, me, my. Now, I'm not saying that there is not room for self protection and setting boundaries. That is not what I'm saying at all, because I believe that that is true. We need to self protect, we need to set boundaries, but we also need to understand that sometimes we may set a boundary and protect ourselves when maybe that doesn't need to happen.
When it doesn't need to, exactly.
Maybe it's just a way of shutting down and not listening to someone else, right? Maybe it's a
Right.
way of just saying, I don't want to hear your point of view. I don't want to understand where you're coming from. So I'm just going to shut down and say, I'm protecting my peace. Okay. I know that that could raise a lot of flack. There is a time for that, but then there is also a time to try to understand the other person and their perspective and their history. We talk about a
Exactly.
field of experience, that field of history. We all have our own past that no one else has ever had
Knows. Yeah,
exactly like
exactly.
we do. And so I think that you're saying be empathetic, try to understand where the other person is coming from, try to understand their thought processes, try to understand how they're feeling. And that is huge because I think by and large, we don't do that
We
anymore.
don't do that. We're in our own, like, little world, and we're not putting ourselves out, and that's why my motto is just try. Like, if we just try with people, it can change so many lives. And if we just put ourselves in their shoes and just slow down and listen and, like, just put ourselves out there, and that doesn't mean that you have to be perfect by any means. Like, if we're not asking for anybody to be perfect, but if you just try, it can change someone's day and change someone's world.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I like that. I like that. Okay, all right. So you said that was your last tip, and let's see. We've talked about your book. I've plugged your business, so we talked about that for a second. We talked about your tips. Is there anything else that you want to just make sure our audience knows or understands before we close out?
I think lead with kindness and empathy, and just know that we don't know what their day like was that day. And so if we just try just to be kind to people and more understanding, I think we can change a lot of people's lives. And I think it shapes who we are, and it can shape who you are too, because it'll make you feel better when you know you just made someone's day.
Exactly. Exactly. You never know what that smile is gonna mean to
Mhm.
somebody, that kind word. If I'm in a grocery store and having lived through the toddler years with my in the baby years, your babies are screaming for a reason, right? There's something that
Yeah,
they want or they
exactly. Yeah.
need. And, I'll be in a grocery store and I'll see a mom just frazzled with, young ones in tow, one or more than one in tow, and I can just see it in her countenance and in her face and just, oh, and I always try to offer a smile. I try to
Do
offer
too.
just a
A
kindness,
compliment, like,
something, yeah.
your kids are so beautiful, you're beautiful, I like your shirt." So just even offering small, like, one small kind gesture can make someone's entire world.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I love it. And by the way, and I don't know when this is gonna air, but Random Kindness Week is coming up, and so I hope everybody will be well, not just that week, but be kind all the time, right?
Exactly, because always.
Be kind all the time. Okay. All right, let our audience know very quickly where they can find you.
So galluccihomes.com, and then the book is at raisedinsilence.com.
Okay. All right. And then are you on social media platforms?
Yes, so it's, good on Instagram, it's Gallucci Homes, and then, for Facebook, it's Maria Gallucci.
All right. I love it. Okay. Audience, I'm going to put down into the show notes, the description, the book, and maybe a link to it and give her information. So go get the book. And if you know anybody who is deaf or hard of hearing and needs a realtor, get in touch and she can connect you wherever you are in the country. She can connect you with somebody. So, Maria, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you so
on.
much for having me.
Okay. All right, everybody, we will see you next time.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.